Hey everyone, welcome to this month's Love Movement meeting, and welcome to Roger and Carrie and Andy and Cliff and Julie and Daniel and Conrad. And so, hi to everyone. So, I was asked before this meeting what the agenda is, and as always with our Love Movement meetings, there is no agenda. This is a free speech forum. We do not consider that we are under Bolshevik Britain, and we do believe that we still have Article 19, freedom of speech rights to freely discuss whatever we feel we wish to raise. So you may wish to have a rant about what's unfolding. You may wish to express your love for Keir Starmer, or you may wish to share what's going on in your world and what's happening with all the initiatives that you're co-creating to co-create the alternative future reality which we do want, and not the totalitarian nightmare which is unfolding. So as always, it's your meeting. I am recording this. We will be putting it on the Love Movement channel, and let's just go for it and see what comes up. But before I open to all of you, let's just do, as we always do, a quick alignment. I can see Roger's, you've got your hand up, but let's just do a quick alignment just to bring ourselves into the space. Just a 60-second alignment. Unfolding, feet flat on the floor, spine straight, just taking 3 long deep breaths in through the nose and blowing out slowly over the bottom lip. And as you're doing those deep breaths, which are a very fast route to calming the nervous system, consciously dropping from mind, trying to work it all out into the heart, so into the body, fully feeling, consciously coming out of everything we were doing this morning, all of our activity and maybe rushing to get here, consciously coming out of everything we have planned for this afternoon so we can be fully present in the now moment where all of the power is. So without further ado, let's come to Roger. You've got your hand up, and so let's come to you, see what you want to share. And if anyone wants to come on the call, if you use the hands up button, it helps to organize the call so we can come to you, and you can all unmute yourselves. So Rog, over to you.
Okay, well, this is about fines from the courts.
Right.
And I'm challenging 2 cases at the moment, both being handled by the HMTCS, which is His Majesty's Tribunal and Court Service. And of course, Rachel, you know about the one which is being handled out of Kirklees court, but there's another one which is more current, and that's coming from North Shields HMTCS. And I'm challenging this in 2 ways. Firstly, I'm challenging it by way of the fact that all legislation applies only to a person. And a person, according to the Interpretation Act, means, I think that's 1978, means a corporation, either either unincorporated or corporated. So that is a company, and I am not a company. So I've advised HMTCS that I'm a living, breathing human being. I'm not a company, and so the Act doesn't apply to me. The Road Traffic Act doesn't apply to me. So that's one way in which I'm challenging it. And the other way is with Chris Coverdale's trust idea. So I've written a letter to North Shields HMTCS, which I've put on Telegram, a copy on Telegram, and I've also put it on this chat as well. So you might like to read that. and I'll let you know what happens as we go along. And so that's really all I've got to say at the moment, and give somebody else a chance now.
Okay, thanks for that, Rog. So if anyone's got any input on that, we'll come to you. But Carrie's got her hand up, so let's ask Carrie to join the call.
Okay, can you hear me?
Hi, Carrie. Yes.
Morning, everyone. Okay, just briefly, I was approached at Loveland by a guy who is working at the University of Exeter, and he's interviewing people about environmental activism. And I was wondering, he wants me to go along and have a coffee with him and chat to him and do an interview. And I was wondering whether I could get something together, which is not what he would expect. Because I've already told him that my views are not quite, probably not quite what his are. It's make one person think, and then he's at university. I mean, who knows? He might be converted and spread the word. You have to live in hope, don't we? So that was one thing. And the second thing was I got sent something from a lady, she's a councillor for the Green Party, who I happen to know. And it's the Cornwall Council's draft housing decarbonisation strategy. So they're really cracking on with this. And even though they're saying that, it says that Cornwall housing is one of the worst for emissions. And in fact, they're even saying that the emissions are increasing in Cornwall. And it's just interesting to have this document, so I know what there was a PDF file, I haven't downloaded it, to know what they're about, really. And they think they can insulate every house in Cornwall at a great cost. I think not, but nevertheless, I know that's not very. It's a bit negative, but and there's just one more negative thing, then I've got on to positive things. I've got an article here in the Nexus magazine about avian flu, no proof of its existence, pathogenicity, or pandemic potential, which is quite an interesting piece to have. And we have heard from a group that I belong to that a lady has been approached rather strongly by DEFRA to say that they're possibly coming to cull all her birds, and she's got some pet birds as well, because there has been an outbreak of avian flu on a farm 30 miles from her. And no, but I have heard that that DEFRA have been putting all this nonsense legislation together since about 2006, and that it's very watertight, and I don't know what people can do about it apart from we can turn up to this lady's farm and film it to show what's happening. So I don't know what anybody else knows about it, but it's kind of it's a little bit worrying. Anyway, to get on to positive things, I also got, as you know, EMFs are not good for us. But again, in the Nexus magazine, there was an article about Blue Shield anti-EMF technology, and I do have that in my house, and it's extremely good. And this is the science. This is all the science about it, and there's 4 pages of it. But it also says Blue Shield for chickens, so they can be protected as well. And it's going on to say how the weight of the eggs laid was better, the amount of eggs they laid, the health of the chickens, it improved dramatically when they put this protection in to the to the chicken coop. So our Blue Shield actually extends beyond the boundaries of our house. So if somebody lives in a terraced house and maybe someone next door has got, Wi-Fi and all the other stuff, then that would protect the person who's got the blue shield as well. And it extends into the garden. I've noticed that I've got quite a few bees this year, more than I had last year. I'm hoping that that's the result of this product, which I found extremely good. And of course, most people know that if you stand on the earth first thing in the morning and discharge the positive stuff that builds up, that's also good. And I've told lots of people about that. Excuse me. And I also wanted to do a quick plug. I didn't know whether anybody was interested in joining the Community Assembly of the British Isles, which I'm a member of. And there's a website which you can now look at, which will tell you exactly what they do and how to join if you want to, what it's all about. So it's www.ca-britishisles.com. Looks like that's the website, if anybody was interested. And then I just wanted to finish with a quote from Pam Gregory, the astrologer. And as you know, she does all the big planetary stuff, and she has said that all the planets are aligned in the same way as they were at the time of the French Revolution, exactly. But I won't go into that. But what she has said at the end of her video was, if you don't mind me just reading it out quickly, she said, "Stay on your eagle's perch. Stay out of fear and watch the inevitable play out. It may look like things are going backward, as is with Pluto's retrograde. This is temporary. What is causing the collapse is that everything not born of love will no longer go. A much higher frequency, the physics of love, is propelling us ultimately to a much more peaceful and compassionate world. Every single one of us is a part of creating that. Make our first layers of paint on our blank canvas for the future, born of love, not fear." I read that out to my friend who's an alternative therapist, and she actually cried. She said it was so uplifting, because I found that everybody that I'm meeting at the moment is thinking, oh, one thing after another. And so I'm reading this out to people, and it does seem to have a very good effect. I'm also, very briefly, I'm just helping to start up a group where we're meeting once a month. And we're all alternative therapists, and we're just, seeing where it goes and just supporting each other. We're supporting other people as well, but that's mainly people who are homeschooling, because they're all feeling very down about stuff as well, and bogged down with everything. So just doing what I can when I can, little bits and pieces. And Loveland is going from strength to strength. We've got a 10-year lease secured, and crowdfunding produced £41,000. So that's doing really well. So it's good, isn't it? Positive stuff.
Brilliant, Carrie. You're doing so well. It's great to hear what's coming out of Loveland.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for reporting in.
Okay.
Anything else to share?
No, that's fine. I think I don't want to take up other people's time, but I think that's probably enough.
Before we come to Cliff, just to add on the bird flu, I think someone summed it up brilliantly on social media, which is, why aren't they culling all of the wild birds? Why aren't they culling pigeons and falcons and peregrine falcons and eagles? And no, it's only farm animals. So that tells you everything you need to know, because if it truly was a problem, they would have to kill every frickin' bird, but they're not doing that.
And we were saying the other day, it was a problem, the seagulls would be falling out of the sky. There's so many of them.
No, I mean, it's so obviously patently, and it's unlawful. What this government and DEFRA is doing is a total violation of landowners and common law rights in the same way that the Peak Park Authority is a totally communist. It's a totally Marxist violation of landowners' rights. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with freaking Bolshevik Britain incoming. Anyway, I'm not going to rant. Let's come to.
No, but yeah, I'm still investigating that one. Okay, and we'll do what
Let's
we
come
can
back to you later, Carrie, if you want to add some more. But
That's
we'll come
fine.
to Cliff and
Okay,
keep going
thank you very
round.
much. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Carrie. Cliff.
So, Carrie, I just had a quick question for you, because there's a few things I've picked people up on. One of the things is when they call me a conspiracy theorist, I immediately say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm a fact finder. So please use a different terminology, because I'm not accepting that terminology. And you say this guy's calling you an environmental activist. I'd find another term, and I wouldn't accept that you're an activist at all. I think you're someone who actually cares and reads and researches and knows what the hell's going on. But my question to you was, if you call yourself an activist, let's just say that you do right now, what do you think's actually happening with the climate currently, and what's actually going on currently that's happening? And ignoring the bird flu and the monkeypox and all the other stuff they're throwing, the aluminiums and blah, 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 what do you see that's actually occurring right now? This is a question.
Okay, well, basically, the guy didn't call me an activist. He actually, sorry, I've maybe not made that very clear. His organization is Environmental Activists, whatever, United, I don't know. So I was going to call him out on that, about the climate, climate change, and did he actually know how much carbon dioxide currently there is in the atmosphere? Because, I mean, we all know, but none of them seem to know. They don't have a clue. They just think carbon is grey smoke that's coming to get everybody, and they we need to give them the science, which is hopefully what I would do.
If you want to look at, I'm not sure how much research you've done, but if you're really interested in going another step, if you haven't already, you probably have, then I'd check out two places. One is Suspicious Observers. It's about 500, it's over 500,000 amateur and professional scientists who are talking about the climatic change on the planet and why it's occurring. And there's another guy who mysteriously died just a short while ago. He's on YouTube. It's a Die Hold Foundation, as in D-I-E, Hold Foundation. And he talks about what's actually happening climatically right now, which is to do with the planetary shift as far as they're concerned. It might be an interesting kind of rabbit hole for you to go down and have a look at what they're saying, which is, and they're kind of showing how a lot of the things that are occurring right now are occurring because of this. And again, it might be another viewpoint that might strengthen your kind of argument, as to why this is actually occurring. People will say, "Oh yeah, but there is a climate change." It's like, yeah, there is for sure, 100%. We can see it, but not for the reasons that they're saying, not for the reasons they've said.
It's partly naturally occurring cycle, and then there's the engineered bit to make it all look terrible. A bit of flooding here, a few forest fires here, to get everybody panicking, because obviously they provide the problem and then they come along with the solution. So yes, it's quite an uphill struggle in some respects, because there's a lot of people at Loveland who believe in the rhetoric, and I'm gradually, but there's new people coming in all the time, and I'm gradually sort of getting people, I wouldn't say, but I'm getting people to see what's actually happening, and some of them already do. So there's a kind of shift, if you know what I mean, gradual shift. But when I went to a meeting over a year ago, where this Canadian company were going to put something into our waters at St Ives to make it less acid into the sea, the first question the guy asked was, does anybody here not believe in climate change? And I put my hand up straight away, and there's this sort of And only one person at the back went, here, here. And everyone else was like, but I thought, no, sometimes you've got to get out there and shock people, because that makes them think. Otherwise they're kind of, no one else is challenged in that. Why should they? Anyway, sorry. Yes, thank you very much for your advice. I'll look at those.
Rachel, shall I run along and just do a very quick download of what I'm doing and carry on?
Yeah, do that, and then we'll come to
gassing
Julie.
nonsense, or shall I?
Julie's got her hand up, so do you want to?
Yeah. Okay.
Julie's got her hand up, so do you want to complete, Cliff, and then we'll come to Julie?
Yeah, it was just. I was just questioning Carrie basically, because I was interested in what she's doing. So first, Carrie, I think it's amazing what you're doing. I mean, brilliant. Good on you. You're actually standing and doing, and that in itself is wonderful. It's just, and it should be admired and appreciated by, it is anyway. I mean, the universe appreciates that in all its truth, to be able to stand and do that, and just keep your energy levels up and just keep pushing forward. So I mean, as little as it means for me to say that, but it's always wonderful to see somebody actually going out and walking the walk, not just talking the talk. What am I doing at the moment? I'm just writing my book, which is called How to Stop Being You, and it really starts to focus people down on how far we've moved away from what we truly are as human entities, as light beings, as souls connected to the land, and all the separations and divides and everything that have come into that we've allowed to kind of permeate our minds, and the way that education or miseducation works and everything. And that chapter is just called Remembering, basically. Then it moves on to a whole other level of how you can start to unpick yourself, and it's something I used to do with life goals years ago. So I'm just doing that. I've written a poem to do with standing up and changing, which I've read to a few people, and they seem to have liked, which is great. So I'm going to do that as a post. I'm going to start posting soon with some of my thoughts on narcissism. And I've been interviewed by Richard Vobes, because we're going to be talking about on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the riots and why they're actually happening, not the media viewpoints, but actually what I and he think. Well, it's an open discussion. It's not I suppose it's not an interview, actually. It's an open discussion. He and I get on quite well, so we like to have backwards and forwards conversations, and I'm really interested in I love those kind of conversations where two people just sit and they investigate and they come up with concepts and ideas and thoughts and theories, and sometimes disagree and agree in other places. So that's kind of where I am, and other than that, I'm just down the allotment and picking my beans and my apples and the blackberries and feeding myself as I'm wandering around, and got some late raspberries and feeding the fish, and just and reconnecting with nature whenever I'm down there, and saying hello to the birds and the bees and the fish, basically. So yeah, I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful at the moment for the life I'm leading. So that's me.
You live in the dream, Cliff. You live in the dream.
I think we all can. It's a mindset. It's just, this is what I'm understanding more and more for myself, is that, if I told you what's going on with me financially, legally, everything else, I could sit here and be as miserable as I could. But there's so many things I have no control over. So it's of no, as I say to people, it's like, if shit happens, if you're miserable, the shit's still there, and if you're happy, the shit's still there. So it's your choice, basically. Just if you can't change it, just put a smile on your face and just move forward. It'll change when it's going to change. But sitting there and rocking backwards and forwards and going, that helps no one. Definitely not yourself. Yeah. So it's the more I understand, the more it's a mindset. But I'm off. That's it, Lee. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
So Carrie's there in Loveland, and you're there in Cliffland, and over to Julie in Taskerland.
Yes, I'm multitasking, definitely. Yeah, very interesting discussion so far, as ever. I'm busy picking the blackberries and accessing, even on my garden, I've got an evening primrose, I've got various other wildflowers, I don't call them weeds. And so I've stopped buying lettuce from the supermarket pretty much, and I'm eating green leaves from the garden. And this is what we really need to help people to learn to do as much as we can. When Carrie was talking about the houses supposedly having more emissions now and things, I'd love to know the justification that that is being stated by, which we could challenge them to give us. And when you think of how our buildings are built now with bricks and things that apparently came over from Holland quite a few decades or centuries or whatever ago. But I know when my mum was a child, and she's 91 now, she told me the other day that they had fields and fields of hemp. We don't have hemp fields now, and I know that we could be using hemp for insulation, for filtering water, making clothes, lots of other things. So that's the sort of stuff, if we can keep getting that message out there. But I mean, the buildings that they're building at the moment, the one I'm in now was built in 1997. I moved out of can't remember what they call it, but it was a very old building. I think it was built in the 1500s or something, and that was so well built and so insulated. The contrast with this house has been absolutely dramatic. Thankfully, I've had windows changed, so it is better, but the people putting the windows in realised that it wasn't insulated between the different layers of the bricks underneath the windows, so they put insulation in, and it's made so much difference. But it shouldn't be, and that old building is so much better than the new buildings that we're doing, and this is what we need to keep promoting. Now, in the chat, Chris down as Samsung has put in a book, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg, I think that's how you say it. And that book talks about the development of electricity, and how that has actually been linked in with these different technological changes, with different illnesses that have happened with people for centuries now.
Yeah.
And we need to realise that these things are happening. And so when they talk about, bird flu or whatever, and the way they brought the 5G in while we had the COVID lockdowns and all stuff like that, when people start to really realise, hopefully as we drop seeds for them, they'll start to think about it. And I know since Starmer was put in place, and I won't say he was democratically elected, because it was the lowest turnout of people that are even registered to vote, so he is not representing the majority of us anyway. And it just needs to, that whole system needs to come down, which is why we're together anyway. I'm interested in that Community Assembly of British Isles that you mentioned, Carrie, and I wondered, could you put a link to the website in the chat for us, please? I know you told us it, but if you could put it in the chat, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Some people on here will know I've been supporting someone that was arrested during the week before the general election. To me, it seemed a very contrived thing that was happening. I'm not going to say much more about that, but the experiences that I've had supporting that person has helped me to realise how wrong and erroneous even that mental health area of life is, even worse than I had realised before. And luckily he's being released now, and we had a discussion this morning about how can we help people to realise better health approaches. And I know Carrie mentioned some alternative therapists getting together, I keep voicing about complementary therapies getting integrated properly into the NHS and into our local communities. I like to use the word complementary because it's with an E, to complete healthcare. There is a place for some of the allopathic medical practitioners, but we need them to work properly with the complementary therapists. And I know some allopathic people are actually taught acupuncture in next to no time, and they think they're acupuncturists. They're not. They're not properly traditional Chinese medicine trained, and they've not done the significant amount of training that is actually needed for proper acupuncture. It came to the United Kingdom through pain relief, supposedly. But I know people that have received it from medical doctors who supposedly have been trained in it, and it has actually put them off acupuncture because it was painful and it wasn't done in a way that really should be. So even that, they've demonized in effect. Now I've got some other little notes. Yeah, when we talk about the bird flu thing and they're not killing off the wild birds, I'd be a little bit cautious about even mentioning that, because knowing what they're like, they'll try and chuff and do that. And we don't even need to drop those seeds, do we? So we really need to keep on with the what we need to do and emphasising that. But I can understand why you had that conversation. And they've demonized nature, like calling wildflowers weeds and not realizing how we could be accessing those for our health, actually. And that's what we need to be doing. Now, I've also put in the chat a link to a recent Charles Coves and that community presentation that happened last Sunday, and it was about the psychology that's being used in our daily lives. And I would suggest, if you can watch it, you might already realize just how much is happening. I mean, I've done lots of education and psychology training, and it helped confirm some of the stuff I knew, and I'm sure I learned some more things from it. And when you listen to the presentation that's on there, it'll help you to realize and help you to be even more conscious in your daily life anyway, which hopefully will help us all to realize where we can go better. Now, I've also seen something today about Japan apparently investigating into the mRNA and the influence that that's having on the physical body, and the use of Bluetooth and things like that to adversely influence people's behaviours and thoughts and things like that. Obviously, I don't know how true it is, what I've watched today, but I would suggest, if you can, find out a little bit more about it. And they're trying to say that they're restricting anything coming out of Japan so that we don't learn what they are finding out about what would be better health. So again, that's not surprising. I'm also going to mention a free thinkers group that I'm part of that is run by Chris and his friend. And we've been having some very recent, very amazing discussions in Nottingham, things about UFOs, other things about different people's experiences in life, of what we call it paranormal stuff. And the more we can get together as communities and have these discussions, the more it helps people to know. And when we're at those free thinking events, they really are allowing proper discussion. We don't have to all agree with each other, and we can have some quite interesting, challenging discussions. And so I'm glad I'm part of that movement as well. I wish I'd got something as strong as Carrie's got in Cornwall, but so far I've been working with some groups in the communities, trying to teach them complementary therapies, but they want to receive but don't necessarily want me to teach them. So I'm taking a step back from that, and I'm not sure where I'm going next, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks for that very comprehensive share. Before I come to Daniel, who's got his hand up, I'm just going to read out. Crisp has put in the text box. I'm going to read this out just in case anyone's got any comments on this. Crisp is saying, and he can't join the meeting because he said he's in another meeting listening with one ear. he says, is anyone sending in notices of personal liability to government, cabinet members, civil servants and the judiciary using recorded post and video journal on Twitter and to government Twitter accounts for malfeasance in public office? Lying, read the manifesto, fraud, financial and political, creating fear in the public, which is a criminal offence, discrimination, two-tier policing and political acts being suggested, e.g. housing, services, etc. All with a 28-day required response, a fee schedule, don't know what he means by that, then chase up in 28 days with direction at the judiciary and police to act, again with 28 days notice, then again follow them up when they don't with further notices of malfeasance in public office. If this method was duplicated, recorded and promoted on Twitter, may have grassroots growing following. And Carrie, are you wanting to speak about that especially? Yeah, quickly speak about that and then we'll come to Daniel.
Okay, yes, I know someone who's actually done that, served that on several MPs and followed it through. Because I sent a load of stuff, I think, to Lynn, and he is actually ex detective inspector, so he knows an awful lot about law. So yes, that. But I mean, you know, let more people do it, the better. But just saying, it's being done. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Is important because during COVID, we all put them on notice, didn't we? And so therefore it becomes a criminal act after that, because you can't then say you didn't know.
Exactly.
The minute you've been put a cease and desist notice, the minute then it becomes criminal because it's willful intent. Right, Daniel, let's come to you. Hiya.
Hello.
You've cut your hair off, sweetie. What's happened to your hair? You've had an image makeover.
Yeah, it's always changing. Anyway, so yeah, there's been a few mentions of hemp. I thought I'd jump in on that. This is made of hemp, by the way. I'm a fan of hemp. I'm even more a fan of linen, which grows a bit easier in Europe, I think. In the UK, we've got nettles, which has very similar properties. Hemp is a kind of nettle. Nettles are everywhere. They're the most nutritious thing. They used to make clothes out of them. Some people still do. So yeah, we do have nettles, and that might be an option if it's hard or illegal to grow hemp. One of the benefits of hemp is it's more breathable and it doesn't hold in as much static charge, especially if it's undyed. Nettle the same, linen the same. Cotton seems to have a bit of a sticky, you know, so when you've got the 5G and the radiation, it kind of clings a little bit, especially if it's petrochemically dyed. On another topic, acupuncture. So I just wanted to mention that's one of the topics that it's a high priority topic for, let's just say, intelligence, the deep state. It's a high priority topic for them to cover for them to control the narrative on. Can't tell you how I know this, but it is a high priority topic for them to control the narrative on acupuncture for some reason, just like UFOs and things like that, which, I learnt this, I would have thought there's not that much in it, but there must be something in it for that reason. Anyway, I wanted to, the only thing I really wanted to speak about is I just wanted to ask a question. You, Rachel, and to you, Julie, especially, anyone else who has a potential solution, a potential answer. And my question, which I've been thinking about for a few months now, is what kind of therapy or solution would you propose for these evil ones that control the world? So if they are traumatized, what would you do about that? You know, if there's millions of them that have worked their way into every grassroots network you can imagine, every institution they're controlling, if you somehow had political authority in a small community or a country or the world, what would you actually do about these people that are willfully torturing as much as possible and all of that, and are going to throw a spanner in the works of everything you ever do to stop your control if you've got any? What would you actually do with these people? Some people say there's no medication for them. There's no way to them. You've got to kill them all. Some people have more of a love approach, and I would assume you might do. You might be going down a trauma healing approach. What exactly would you do with the most hardened psychopaths? The
Well,
most
I'm sure Julie will
hardened
have opinions
sadists?
on this, and we have to be a little bit careful what we're saying here.
Yeah.
And Carrie's got her hand up, but for what it's worth, from my point of view, whatever you want to heal or fix out there, you go deeper with yourself. So to me, it's always, how do we go deeper with our own healing journey? Whatever we want to fix or transform on the outside, do it on the inner planes, because that's the only true way we can get a transformation on the externals, is to go deeper with our inner work. And I do believe that's happening massively. There's such an awakening of consciousness with so many people going deep and clearing on the inner planes, that literally we are holding so much, we're bringing in so much light into the grid that it will transform the collective. That's my 2 penneth, but I'm sure Julie will have things to add. And let's come to Carrie, who had her hand up. And I also want to hear from Andy, if you want to come on and talk about the 1.5 million rubbish homes to be built a la Persimmon and Bellway, and all of this Minecraft housing estates, which Lynn is so passionate about, I know. But let's come to Carrie, if you want to add into that.
Just something quickly about hemp. There is, I believe, a guy in Cornwall who's growing it and making hemp bricks. But I also read recently that past, a prototype car was made of hemp, and it was 10 times stronger than our conventional cars, and also the oil was suitable to be used as Henry Ford, I think it was Henry Ford who developed it, was hemp oil to run cars. But of course, you know, good things get to disappear, don't they? So we've never heard anything from it since, but it's an interesting thing maybe for the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
And as regards what was said just now, I just go back to what Pam Gregory said about staying on your eagle's perch, and that what is causing the collapse is anything not born of love will no longer go forward. So that, to me, is the solution, that, you know, we've really got to give it out constantly. And it's almost like, well, we know they can't cope with that.
Yeah.
Cope with the vibration. So
that is the thing. If you want to get rid of darkness, just turn on the light.
It's not exactly our secret weapon, but it is definitely, you know, the way to go, because everything else is being so well organized and blocked, and you've got so much infiltration into every possible department that you're fighting a battle the whole time and distracted, and your energy is taken away from what we need to be doing, which is the stuff we were born to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. The system needs the fear to feed it, to keep it going. Let's come to Andy now. Andy, I did get your name right, didn't I? It is Andy, isn't it?
Chris Rachel.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
Sorry.
I'm getting you mixed up with Andy on the Beacons group.
It's because I logged in, but yeah, it's my comment you was talking about, weren't it, about the 1.5 million homes?
Please share, because obviously the people listening to the recording can't see the chat, which is why I read that out, but it always helps to hear it from you to raise your point.
Well, I mean, I've got several relatives in the building trade. My dad was a joiner, my brother's a roofer. I know plumbers, I know sparkies. Most of them say the same things about these new homes that's being built, like Julie mentioned earlier. Very poor quality. I mean, my mother and father's bungalow is rubbishly built, no air vents put in where they should have air vents, very badly insulated, a lot of shoddy workmanship. There's cement coming out, there's mortars coming out from between the bricks. And it's basically, they're going to build 1.5 million homes on a budget. So you're going to have these big companies like Persimmons come along that have got a very bad reputation, if you read up about them. You've got other companies like Taylor Wimpey, Bellway, that's been established for decades, I know. But what we're basically getting at is houses just aren't being built as good as what they used to be, and youngsters are being charged grossly inflated prices for mortgages to get mortgage deals. I mean, you're looking at an average house price of £150,000. It'll double by the time they get the mortgage agreement sorted out with the banks if they haven't got a decent deposit put down. And I just think we're being shortchanged. And you've got, I'm going to sound cruel here, you've got imbeciles like Angela Rayner laying down policy. Sorry, I can't help. I'm going to have to be nasty towards her. It's basically they're taking the Greenbelt laws and changing them, and they're going to overrule local councils now over planning to decide where they build homes. And something I read recently in the paper was the fact that a village in Bedfordshire, they just granted permission through this new rule, this new act that Labour's put through, to build 30,000 new homes on land that should have been floodplains. So straight away there, we've got problems, haven't we? Future problems coming. And it just seems to be profit above all else. They're not bothered about people living in decent homes. Labour's supposed to be social homes, aren't they? Providing social homes for people.
Yeah.
Where are the council homes that used to be in the past? They've gone. They've disappeared. But that's my rant over, Rachel, and basically what I was getting at anyway. I'll let you.
Thanks, Chris, Andy, Samsung. And before I come to Cliff, I am going to add my 2 pence on this, because there was a lot of this debate in the hustings when I was standing, and there is a cartel of house builders, and it's all part of big corporations, all kind of WEF aligned, and they stand to make millions, billions and billions and billions through building these Minecraft housing estates, while all the while. And I was actually having this very same discussion yesterday, driving back from Worcester Magistrates Court, where I was once again challenging the system with my friend who is a farmer. We were looking at all of the buildings, all across the farms, all across the Peak Districts, which could easily be renovated and turned into affordable housing at the drop of a hat, with a change in the planning laws. So this is the challenge we now have, is that the World Economic Forum aligned political forces are trying to award all these contracts to these house building big corporations. They usually come with an Aldi nearby and a big supermarkets and all of these infrastructure things. If you imagine how much money is in a planning permission contract, so the government and the ability to turn land, which is maybe £10,000 an acre, into being worth £1 million an acre or something, it's completely corrupt, and the power needs to be returned to the people. Planning only came in the 1930s. Before that, if you were a landowner and if you had money, you could build what the hell you liked. And it was so the aristocracy built all of these farms and most of these houses and mill villages like Crestbrook and all the rest of it in the Peak District. So don't get me on my ranting on my high horse, but it's completely corrupt. And over to Cliff.
I was going to say, I've not heard. Did Conrad want to say? Conrad's not had chance, and he was looking at time.
Well, I'm only going to, I haven't got it on gallery view, I've got it on speaker view, but Conrad, if you would like to come on, would you like to come on, or are you just listening in the background?
I'm a bit of a listener. I'm taking down notes. I thank Cliff and both Carrie for contacting with me. It was nice to see you, Rachel, at the Shine gathering. I am working with my understanding of why are we connecting with all these people, councils, judges, the whole rigmarole, because I can't help but feel that the more we connect with them, the more energy they get from that connection. And maybe it's time to start using something that we all have a lot of, especially us lot, common sense. Goodness gracious, do no harm and common sense. We can move through these complete corruptions and not waste our energy. Anyway, that's just my little tiny rant. I'll say hello to everyone. Lots of love all round. And your turn, Cliff.
You're sounding more and more like Larkin Rose by the minute, our very own anarchist amongst our ranks, Conrad. And I have to say I agree, but yeah, over to Cliff now.
I'm so glad I shifted to Conrad, because I totally agree. I think we spend right now, it's my view now, having gone through the whole parliamentary nonsense, and help independence and doing all that and trying to work from within and trying to make some kind of change within the system. I think in my mind now, I've realised actually the system is completely corrupt from top to bottom. It's literally impossible to work within the system to change the system. It's that polluted. They've got the corporation, they've got the farmer, they've got the government, they've got the police, they've got the courts. I mean, they've got the councils. It's literally, the whole thing is so polluted. So I completely agree with Conrad. It's actually, what are we going to do? Let's just ignore those. Let's just ignore them. Let's just literally ignore them. Just turn our backs and just go, sorry, we're not playing this game. And if enough people just turn their backs on them and we just start building elsewhere and putting communities together and coming from this space that, we are light beings. We are beautiful miracles, every one of us. We are. I mean, I can break it down and prove it. And it's the realization that if that had been taught in schools from day one, we would all see that. We would all see just how powerful and magnificent we are. And it's that I think we need to turn our attention to and our energy to, and pull that together. Basically, that's
okay. So just before we come to Julie on that, Daniel's saying, and if you witness the worst crimes in the act, would you ignore that? Now, this is a point which is raised in the Wetiko book by Paul Levy, is that it's spiritual bypassing is also quite dangerous. So it's like calling out the system and making it very difficult for them to operate within their own system, because you're actually calling them out and you're putting them on notice rather than completely ignoring. You're putting them on notice. You're sending in cease and desist and malfeasance notices and turning up at court and using common law and undermining the system, as well as co-creating what we do want. So to me, it's a two-pronged approach. It's like standing strong against the abuser. No, you may not, whilst co-creating the new. So that's where I've always been coming from. But let's come to Julie now.
Right, yeah, we need to keep getting the love and in a grounded way out there. And the more we raise our vibration, the better everything will be anyway. I resonate a lot with what Rachel said for health-wise and what she's just said as well. So not pharmaceuticals. Yes, medication has its place, but when you think that aspirin came from willow trees, and yet they don't take the whole of that willow to produce the aspirin, and even if they were to change it to make it into a tablet form with the whole of it, it won't be the same as a willow tree. So they used to have hospitals based in quite often within forests, and they would go and put people that were in pain to sit them underneath willow trees because they knew that helped pain relief. Are you all right to know that Carrie's got her hand up and she'll be on after, Rachel?
Oh, I can't. I've got you on speaker view because it makes the recording better, which means unless someone puts their yellow hand up, I don't see them. But I thank you, and I'll come to Carrie next.
Just save her having to keep her hand up. Right, so Carrie, I've put a website link in the chat, so I don't know if you could check that just to make sure it is the one that you mentioned. So as far as what we need to do, we need to keep that focus on love. And as I say, I live my life meditatively. Now, when I said that at an NHS conference years ago, a group of radiographers laughed at me. And I didn't bother countering them. So if you think of what Daniel's asked about, what are we going to see do if we witness worse crimes or whatever, each situation is different. And you have to go with what feels right in whatever situation. So in that situation, I just thought, let them laugh, let them, take the mickey out of me if that's what they want to do. I know what I meant, and I know I'm very grounded with living meditatively, because it's about consciousness and raising our consciousness. Okay. And I know I rest every day, every afternoon or evening for at least 10 minutes. And when nothing's happening in my life, which hasn't been for quite a long time, people wonder where I get my energy from. But resting is literally lying down flat, ideally, eyes closed, with some relaxing music on if you like music. If you don't like music, even putting headphones just below your navel actually helps that vibration in your body. I love music, and I know it does me good. And what you need to do as you lie for that daily rest is focus on your breathing, focus on the music. Thoughts will come in, acknowledge them briefly, but then take yourself back to the music or your breathing, or both. Okay. Anything else is not proper rest. When you do that, you actually will cope with life much better. But I know certain times, God, in my terms that I use now, makes it so that I'm so busy, occasionally I don't even get to do my daily rest. And I know it makes me shorter in my patience. And so then I will express myself differently to what I would if I'd done my usual daily rest. And then afterwards, I can just reflect, oh, I must have needed to assert myself in that situation in the way that I did, rather than just complying and sort of adapting to what everybody else sort of wants me to do. Now, Daniel's just put, my original question was intended more along the lines of, if you somehow had authority and the chance to capture all the perpetrators, how would you practically deal with them? Such as death sentence, imprisonment, what kind of rehabilitation therapy? I still struggle with the concept of the death sentence, but I do know that I found out recently it was Tony Blair, I think, or certainly one of the more recent politicians, that changed treason to not allow the death sentence anymore. Now, when you think they're actually killing people through the pharmaceuticals, damaging people through the surgeries that they're doing, and they know that they shouldn't even be doing all the surgeries that they're doing. If people have got knee and hip problems, if they have their muscles and their tendons and things like that work to help their body function better, they wouldn't need artificial bits of bones and stuff putting into their body. If you have anything artificial put into your body, it is not replacing itself all the time like our body naturally does. And so even there, they are just contriving the reliance on this ridiculous, I won't call it a healthcare service, because it is not a healthcare service. So we need to change that. What would I do with them? If they were to be imprisoned, I'd want them to be earning in some way through their energy and time doing something. But somebody like Bill Gates, I would not trust to even be cleaning my toilet, because I wouldn't trust him to not use poisons and things. So if I could find something that I felt I could trust to have him doing, to give something back to the community, and even if I were to let him out into the community and go litter picking, I would really want to be making sure that he was exactly being looked after and properly doing that litter picking. But yeah, so I don't really know what I would entirely do. And I don't want to have to imprison them and us sort of have to oversee them. But I do know through my therapies, I mean, my health kinesiology, there's loads of therapies that we could be doing.
Julie, let's come to Carrie now, because I'm conscious of time and I've got to do something this afternoon, so I can't run on forever. Carrie, let's come to you. Do you want to speak?
Thank you. Yes, say, Rachel, that we need to keep that spiritual line going. And my husband and I do daily meditation and Tai Chi and stuff. We lapsed. Now we've upped the ante because it's so important. And yes, we do what we can, and we do push back, as you say, and we're not just letting it all happen, but there's a kind of balance, and it's quite hard to get at the beginning, but I think if you feel that you're doing too much in the world and your energy is drained, then you draw back, and so you keep that balance. And I think staying healthy, now that most of us know, what not to eat and what not to wash our hair with or whatever, and I find that my friends, Standing Apart friends, we all network on that one, on information as to what we can do, simple things, concoctions we can make to stay healthy, to detox, all that sort of stuff. So it's all part of the package, because we've got to look after our physical body as well as everything else. So it's just a holistic approach, isn't it?
Yeah. Cool. Okay, Carrie, I'm going to call this to a close now. So if you're watching the recording and you'd like to join in, we meet at 12 noon UK time on the third Thursday of every month. If you go to the Love Movement website, which is still love-party.co.uk, or you can get at it through vote-love.co.uk, you can sign up for free and you'll get invites. And if we aren't on the call next month on the third Thursday at 12 noon, you will know that we've all been thrown in the gulag after this week's call. So sending you lots of love, and thanks for joining. Thanks for everyone for contributing. It's been a fantastic, lively debate. No agenda required, free flowing, freestyle, improv, and lots of love. A great call. Thanks for all your contributions. Okay, bye for now. Bye.